These deep muscles can create thoracic outlet syndrome by compressing on the nerves and blood vessels if they become overused and tight. And sadly, it's extremely easy for these muscles to get tight thanks to our modern society, like being on a computer or our phone for 8 hours a day. But after reviewing the body for such a long time, I have discovered this interesting connection between all of these deep muscles creating your thoracic outlet syndrome that's not only going to change the game on how you treat it, but also going to help you avoid any unnecessary surgery. Adam here from Triage. Now, I'll go over that special connection in a little bit. But first, we have to know what these muscles are in the first place and how they get tight. Now, the first deep muscle is going to be the PEC Minor. This muscle attaches to the ribs and the coracoid process, which means when it gets tight, it can compress on the nerves and the blood vessels that run right underneath it. In fact, we have this really cool video that's going to show us what this could look like. But be warned though, we're about to look at some real life tissue. So if you're the kind of person who gets squeamish from these kind of things, then skip to the timestamp below. What you're looking at here is the PEC Minor being exposed by removing the PEC Major, and right underneath that muscle are the nerves and blood vessels. And as you can see, if there's some kind of tightness, then it can compress on the nerves and blood vessels underneath it, and then this pain can become even worse when you decide to move your arm up over your head. Now, another muscle that can compress on the nerves and blood vessels in this area is the Coracobrachialis. This deep bicep muscle is also attached to the coracoid process of the scapula, but instead of attaching to the ribs, it attaches to the arm. This means you can have two different muscles pulling on that coracoid process in two different directions, resulting in even more compression on those nerves and blood vessels. Now, the third muscle that can compress on the nerves and blood vessels is the subclavius, which is located right underneath the collarbone. Before those nerves and blood vessels get to the PEC Minor, they have to go underneath the collarbone, which is the area the subclavius controls. If this muscle shortens and gets tight, it can either pull the first rib up towards the clavicle or the clavicle down towards the first rib, creating that compression on your nerves and blood vessels. So those are the three deep muscles that may be creating your thoracic outlet syndrome. But the question here is, why do they get tight in the first place? And the answer has to do with your posture. Besides an injury to any of these areas, your posture is most likely the reason for these muscles getting shortened and tight. The reason why is because everything we do is right in front of us, which forces these muscles to shorten and contract. Now, if you're not sure what I mean here, then think of it like this way. All muscles pull. It doesn't matter if it's your bicep pulling your arm to get your hand closer to your shoulder, or if it's your chest, your triceps, and your shoulder all pulling at the same time to create a push-up or a bench press. So what this means is when you take a look at your own posture, you can simply take a look at what direction it's getting pulled towards in order to see which muscles are creating the tension in the first place. And for most of you watching this out there, it's most likely going to be towards the front with the shoulders rounded down, which means it's going to be the muscles in this area. Now, if you're someone who wants to learn where your tension line is and how to read your own posture, then make sure to check out my free posture analysis masterclass. The link is in the description below. So by you constantly performing your daily tasks and daily habits in front of the body, which is pretty much unavoidable, that is naturally going to shorten and tighten those deep muscles, which will then create that compression on those nerves and blood vessels. And before I show you how to release all these deep muscles, let me show you that crazy connection I found between all of them, which is called the deep front arm line. This is simply a deep fascia line that runs from the chest all the way out to the arm and connects all those deeper muscles we just talked about that's creating all of your compression. Now, another warning real quick, we're about to look at some pictures of more anatomy. So again, if you're squeamish, then skip to the timestamp below. Take a quick look here and you'll see what I mean by a connection between all of these different muscles. What we know is that muscles attach to the tendon, which then attaches to the bone. But it's only your fascia system that actually touches from the muscles to the bones, to the muscles, to the bones, pretty much through everything that it touches. And the reason why that's important is because this is a giant muscle basically where it can also shorten and contract. Meaning, if you have tightness in one area of that body, of that fascia line, then that can also create tightness or maybe even pain in other areas of that fascia line as well. Now, to perform these sub-massage techniques correctly, let's quickly go over some ground rules so I don't have to keep repeating myself. The first ground rule here is to work each area for roughly 2 to 4 minutes. Now, I know it can be tender or maybe even a little painful, so if you can, try to start at 2 minutes and then work your way up to 4. And speaking of pain, this brings me to guideline number 2, which is that it's okay for you to have some pain when you're doing this or even some discomfort as long as you're able to breathe through it. Now, if you didn't know, your fascia system has been shown to have over 250 million nerve endings inside of them, which is why you may feel a lot of pain or tenderness when you work on the fascia system. And as a comparison, what used to be thought of as the richest sensory organ with a bunch of nerves in it used to be the skin with over 200 million of them. So the idea here is that it's okay to feel some pain or some tenderness when you are performing your self-massage techniques, but as long as you're able to breathe through it. If you're not able to breathe, then you're not able to release the muscle. And this brings me to the third guideline, which is do this for roughly 2 to 3 times a week. Just like how you have an intense workout session when with your muscles and you create some micro tears, this can also happen to your fascia system, which is why we want to work it only 2 to 3 times. So with all those rules out of the way, let's get into these self-massage techniques, starting with the PEC Minor. The first thing we want to do here is try to locate the PEC Minor, and let me show you a quick way to do that. All you really need to do here is take your hand and your elbow behind your back and then push them away while your hand is on your PEC Minor. And as you do this, you will feel the muscle contract without the PEC Major contracting. Now, once you're able to locate the muscle, all you need to do is grab a self-massage tool like a small ball or a foam roller. You can even use your hand here. I just don't recommend it because you may end up hurting your own hand. And from here, the first technique we're going to be doing is going to be static pressure. All you have to do here is simply hold static pressure on that one tender spot that you find in that muscle for roughly 2 to 4 minutes. Now, another technique we can do here to help the blood flow a little bit is going to be micro movements. Once again, you just want to find the most tender spot you can within the muscle, and then all you have to do is simply move back and forth and side to side on it to help increase the blood flow. And then one of my favorite techniques is going to be a pin and stretch. Once again, you're pinning down the most tender spot, but now you're going to take that arm through its full ranges of motion in order to help stretch out and strip out that tissue as well. Next up is the subclavius, and in order to locate this muscle, all you need to do is simply bring your arm up in front of you as you drop your head down, which will help bring that clavicle up away a little bit and allow you to get deep into the muscle and access it. Now from here, all you're going to do is simply use your fingers or a self-massage tool in order to begin working that area. You can again perform some static pressure by simply holding the most tender spots. You can perform some micro movements by moving back and forth and side to side on it. Or you can perform a pin and stretch on this muscle as well by simply shrugging and moving the shoulder around as much as you can. And this one actually brings me into the third muscle, the Coracobrachialis. Now to locate this muscle, all you have to do is go high into the armpit and deep on the inside arm in order to locate it. It is going to be really high up there in the arm, so go ahead and just go as high as you're comfortable going. And if you want to try to locate it a little more, make it pop up, to make it contract, all you need to do is simply bring that arm in or flex it and you'll feel the muscles contract. And just like the rest of the 2 muscles, we can perform 3 different techniques here. We can perform some static pressure by just holding that one tender spot that we find. We can perform some micro movements by moving the arm back and forth and side to side. Or we can do a pin and stretch by pinning it down and then pulling the arm back into extension. Now, if you found this helpful and you want to take it up a notch, then you have a couple of different options. You can join my popular 21-day TOS program where I'm going to show you how to not only release all these muscles, but also how to stretch them and train the different muscles that you have to work as well. And this also includes muscles like the scalenes, the PEC major, the lats, and more. Or if you want to fix the underlying issue to your thoracic syndrome, which is your posture, then make sure to join my rounded shoulders rehab program, where you're going to learn how to fix your rounded shoulders, your forward head posture, and all the pain and mobility issues that come with it. If you want to check any of those out, then the link for them is going to be in the description below. I'll see you later.